So in this video, we're going to multiply polynomials. And the key to multiplying polynomials is the same as when we were multiplying things before in the course, and that is understanding the distributive property. So we've already seen things like this in the course, say 3 times the quantity x plus 5. And what we did with that 3 is we did 3 times x and 3 times 5. And that's called the distributive property. So this would be 3 times x plus 3 times 5, or 3x plus 15. Okay, so we're going to do that same thing, that same distributive property, except this time we are going to be distributing things that have variables. So for instance, multiply a. So let's say that I had 2c times c squared plus c minus 7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this stuff outside here, this 2c, and I'm going to do 2c times the first thing. So that would give me 2c times c squared, which we already know that c times c squared, I have 1c plus 2 more c's, so that's 2c cubed. We're going to take that 2c times c, so it's going to be 2c times c, and so that's going to become plus 2c squared. And then I have to take the 2c times the negative 7. So plus 2c times negative 7. And the only things that I can multiply together here are the 2 and the negative 7. So if I do that, I should get minus 14. And then if I look at my problem, there's no like terms, so there's nothing for me to put together. So we'll do more examples. So B, maybe we have something like, say, minus 15xy times 3x squared plus x cubed y squared minus 2y. So again, we're going to take all this stuff that's outside here, and we're going to do this times the first thing, this times the second thing, this times the third thing. So we're going to get minus 15xy times 3x squared minus 15xy times x cubed y squared, and minus 15xy times 2 minus 2y. I have to take that minus with it. That's in front of the 2y. So if I simplify these, right, the minus 15 and the 3 multiplied together to give me negative 45. I have 1x here and 2 x's here, so I'd have x cubed, and then I just have that y left over. In the second one, there's no other number besides the minus 15, so it's just going to be minus 15. I have an x here and an x cubed here. And again, this is different than adding. You can only add like terms, but when you multiply, remember from a couple videos ago, this is the product rule. So I have 1x times 3 more x's. So it means I have 4 x's, and I have 1 y and 2 y's, so I have 3 y's. And then this last one, I have minus 15 and minus 2, so that would give me a positive 30. 1 y and 1 more y, so that's going to be y squared, and then I have the x. And then if I look at these things, right, this is an x cubed y, this is an x to the 4th y cubed, and this is a y squared x, so none of them go together, so I can't combine them together at all. So let's do one more example here before we kind of step it up one more notch. So what about k squared minus 13k minus 6 times minus 4k. Okay, so this time the thing I'm distributing is on the right-hand side. And it's a little weird looking, but it's okay. So this is going to go times that first piece, times that second piece, times that third piece. So we're going to have minus 4k times k squared, minus 4k times minus 13k, minus 4k times negative 6. So minus 4k times k squared, right? The k, well, I have 1k and 2 more k's, so this is going to be minus 4k cubed. Here, the minus 4 and the minus 13, if I multiply those together, I'm going to get a positive 52, and then I have 1k and 1 more k, so this would be k squared. Here, I have the minus 4 and the minus 6, so that would be plus 24, and then there's just the variable k. So that's the basic, where you just have one piece on the outside you're trying to distribute. They can get a little bit more complicated. So I can do things like this. 3x minus 2, that whole entire polynomial, times 4x plus 1. Okay, so all I'm going to do is I am going to still think about this. I have two things here. I have a 3x and I have a minus 2. And I'm going to take each of those two things and distribute them to the stuff in the second parentheses. So the 3x has to go to the 4x and it has to go to the 1. And the minus 2 has to go to the 4x and it has to go to the 1. So if you do that, we would get 3x times 4x plus 3x times 1 minus 2 times 4x minus 2 times 1. And then I'm just going to simplify each of those pieces, right? So 3 times 4 is 12. X times x is x squared. 3x times 1 is just 3x. Minus 2 times 4x is minus 8x. Minus 2 times 1 is just negative 2. And now I'm going to look to see if there's any like terms. And if you notice, there are the plus 3x and the minus 8x. So I can put those together. So I'm going to have the 12x squared, the positive 3x, and the minus 8x would become a minus 5x, and then I'd have the minus 2. Now, sometimes you might hear people describe this as FOIL, right? So that's totally fine. FOIL stands for the first pieces, the outer pieces, the inner pieces, and the last pieces. So this green line here, this inside one, that's the first. It's the first thing in this piece times the first thing in this piece. The outer pieces are the first thing here times the last thing here. So if you notice, this green arrow is kind of going on the outside of both of these. So that's the outer. The inner pieces is this part here. It's the inside, the negative 2 times the 4x. And then here's the last. There's not a problem with FOIL. The thing is that FOIL only works when it's set up to look exactly like this. So rather than thinking of it as FOIL, I just think I'm taking that first piece, multiplying it times both things, and that second piece, multiplying it times both things. And then it works no matter how many pieces you have. So like, for example, here's another example. If I have 5s plus 3 times s squared plus s minus 2. Right? So again, I'm going to take this first piece, this 5s, and it's got to go to all three things. So I'm going to have 5s times s squared plus 5s times s plus 5s times negative 2. And you don't have to write this step here that I'm writing. You know, when I multiply polynomials, I don't write this step that I'm currently writing. But I think when you're first learning, it's helpful. And then this plus 3 is going to go times each of these other ones. So we're going to have plus 3 times s squared plus 3 times s plus 3 times negative 2. And then I'm going to simplify each of these pieces, right? So this is going to be 5s cubed plus 5s squared minus 10s plus 3s squared plus 3s minus 6. I know, it's terrible. My s's look like 5, so I'm sorry. I should have picked a different letter. And now I'm going to combine the like terms. So there is no other s cubed, so we're just going to have 5s cubed. But then there are some squareds, right? So 5s squared and the 3s squared. So that's going to give us 8s squareds. There's the minus 10 s's and the plus 3 s's, so that's going to give us minus 7s. And then this last one over here, the minus 6. So let's try a couple more. So part F here, 3x times 3 plus 4y times 3 x minus 2y. Okay, so I've got a couple things going on. So I've got multiple layers of multiplication. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 3x and I'm just going to multiply it times the first set of parentheses because that's kind of what's going on first. So we're going to have 3 times 3 would give us 9x, and then 3x times 4y, 3 times 4 would give me a 12, and then I have an x and I have a y. And I'm going to keep all that stuff in parentheses, and then I'm just going to bring down this next part, x minus 2y. And now it looks a lot like my last example, right? So I'm going to take the 9x, I'm going to multiply it times each thing, and then I'm going to take the plus 12xy, and I'm going to multiply it times each of these two things. So we're going to get 9x times x plus 9x times minus 2y plus 12xy times x plus 12xy times negative 2y. And so now, if I kind of simplify these, we're going to get 9x squared minus 18xy plus, here I have an x and another x, so we're going to have 12x squared y's. Here I have a 12 and a minus 2, so that would give me negative 24. And then I also have a y and another y. So we're going to have xy squared. And now we're going to look to see if there's any like terms. Okay, so if we look, this is an x squared all by itself, no other variables. So if I look here, it has a y, nope, has a y, nope, has a y. Okay. This next term is 1x and 1y. 2 x's, nope. 1x, okay. Oh, 2 y's, nope, can't combine them. This next term, it's 2 x's and 1 y. Oh, here I only have 1 x, so I can't combine them. So this is it. There's nothing else you can do. You can't combine any of these things together. So let's try a couple more. So if I had x minus 9 times x plus 9, so again, we're going to do that same thing, right? I am going to take this first piece, multiply it times each of these, and then I'm going to take this second piece here and multiply it times each of these. So the first piece is going to be x times x plus x times 9. The second piece is going to be negative 9 times x minus 9 times 9. So I end up with x squared plus 9x minus 9x minus 81. And the positive 9x and the negative 9x would cancel each other out. You end up with 0 x's. So you don't even need to write that. So this is just x squared minus 81. Okay, I have one final example to do for you. And that is if you have something that looks like this, like y minus 3 squared. Okay, so every single time I teach this, somebody tries to take this 2 here and they try to use the product rule and distribute it. So if you remember way back when we did the product rule, remember I said you can only distribute it if there's no plus or minus sign. So if you have 2 pieces and a plus or minus sign in between them, you cannot distribute the square. Or so if you have a plus or minus b squared, it is not equal to a squared plus or minus b squared. If you want Dr. Gorman to get very mad when I'm grading your exams, then do that, okay? So anytime students do that and I'm grading their exams, I get very frustrated and I'm like, why? I said it 1,000,000 times. You cannot distribute that square if there's a plus or a minus. Okay, so what can we do then? Well, remember what the squared means. The squared means, so way back when we started this chapter, we said how x squared means x times x. It's this base thing repeated 2 times. So this square means it's going to be this base thing repeated 2 times. So it's going to be y minus 3 times y minus 3. Okay, so this y has to get distributed to each of these 2 pieces. This minus 3 has to get distributed to each of these 2 pieces. So if I do that, I have y times y plus y times minus 3 minus 3 times y minus 3 times minus 3. And if I clean that up a little bit, I have y squared minus 3y minus another 3y, and then minus 3 times minus 3 is plus 9. So I end up with y squared minus 6y plus 9. So when you have the square, you want to rewrite it as this thing 2 times multiplied, and then just do the same multiplication that we've been doing on all these examples.